Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ask Me Anything WordPress Baltimore Meetup. This is our February 8th, 2023 edition. This is an informational meetup. Please use the information, products, and services that we show at your own risk. Just because we show a website, plugin, theme, or anything else is not an official WordPress endorsement of it. Please be sure to keep it family friendly, as many of us are attending from home. We started our meetup a little bit late today because we had some issues with some spammers joining. So one of our volunteers is helping out and currently moderating the entries. During the course of this meetup, we are going to do our best to follow the WordPress guidelines for community standards. And we will evict anyone from the meeting who breaks these standards. No spamming or spammer-like behavior. We have people of all different skill levels and backgrounds, so no judgment for those who are at different skill levels than where you are at, and generally don't be a jerk. I'm Jen. I'm a WordPress developer who's been building and managing WordPress sites for clients for over a decade. Over the years, I've built, remodeled, cleaned up, fixed, added functionality to, and done security work for hundreds of WordPress sites. I organize the Baltimore WordPress Meetup now. And if you want to know more about me, you can visit my website, infira.com/help. We will be using the chat to queue up questions for people. So make sure to find your Zoom chat and open it up. Everyone will be muted to start. You can't unmute yourself. If you want to speak, you'll need to mention it in the chat so that I can unmute you. We will make sure that everyone's video stays off, as many people have less than ideal internet connections, so my screen will be the only one shared. No one knows everything. We'll do our best to answer your questions, but we can't guarantee that we have an answer for absolutely every question out there. Before we get to the actual questions, I just want to put up a quick announcement, as this will likely affect many people. Google's Universal Analytics, also known as UA, will be retiring in July of 23. So that's coming up in a few months. In preparation for this, starting in March, Google will be automatically creating GA4 or Google Analytics 4 properties for any UA account that is not already linked to a GA4. So what does that mean? If you are already created a GA4 property, you'll want to log into any existing UA property and make sure to opt out of having a GA4 property automatically created for that UA property. Most people, if they set up a new GA4 property, did not link it to their UA property, generally because that was kind of a complicated process and not obvious. So if you already have a GA4, you'll want to log into your UA and opt out of having the GA4 automatically created. And Google should have been sending you a whole bunch of emails about this, warning you about it, telling you that you have to opt out. Make sure to actually read those emails. Next, if you have not created a GA4 property, you can go ahead and let Google do it for you. But be aware that you'll want to actually check the settings and make sure that it is in fact tracking somewhere in the April timeframe after Google has created your GA4 property for you. Google will be sending out notifications. They will be sending out emails. So actually read those. Remember that your visitor data is Google's product. That's why they don't charge for their analytics service. Other providers who keep your visitor logs private, they charge for the service because they can't make money off your data. Google makes money off your data, so therefore they care very much about maintaining their income stream, which is your data. That's why they are setting up these automatic migrations. It is to ensure the information is set up for them, for Google. It is not to ensure that their product actually works for you. So if you let them set up your GA4, make sure that you actually check it. All right, we are on to the questions. So these are the people who pre-submitted their questions. So if you have pre-submitted your question and you are on this list of names, then please type here in the chat. The people who pre-submitted are Bernadette, Bob, Hala, Karen, Angel, Gary, Jackie, Mark, Gina, Cheryl, and Greta. So if any of you are actually here and still have your question, please type here in the chat. All right, we have a few people who are typing here. I'm just going to give everyone just a moment longer. Mark, since you seem to have a bunch of skills around Zoom, I'm going to go ahead and make you a co-host. So you will have some powers to help out Greg. There will be a chance to ask questions after we go through the pre-submitted questions, but we like to reward people who submit their questions in advance, so we always start there. So let me just get a quick listing of who is here. We have Mark, Gary, Gina, and Greta, and Cheryl. All right, so I am just going to read off the questions from these people. So number one is Mark. Let me just find your question. Here we are. Mark has a rather long question. I'm going to read it out. I'm sure this is a top 3 question on WordPress. How to set up a simple page for a startup. With the thousands of themes and plugins out there and options, what level do you really need to be at to set this all up? And your questions are regarding a basic landing page, a small website, and a replacement for Shopify. How long should each one take? Where do you need to start coding? I've spent days trying to set up an under construction page, finally found a plugin which kind of worked and you're not happy with. What are the best practices for cloning sites and developing and configuring while working on the live site? And what are the best practices for tools for backing up a site and restoring? Switching hosting providers, and once you have a site set up, what is the best way to use it as a baseline for another startup to only need to change a few things? Wow, Mark, that's a quite encompassing question. Mark, would you like to unmute yourself since you have host powers?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, don't need to have all those answered. Want to make sure that others get their questions answered as well. But if you just want to pick 1 or 2 that you think are good for the overall audience, that would be great. Or if you need any details. But I've been in and around, and at least I'm comfortable with the interface, but still kind of struggle with some things. And in particular, was trying to set up a site for a small kind of startup this week, and you look at all the different themes and all the and it's just it's a lot to take in. So any insight you can provide, I'd appreciate.
All right, so I'll start with the beginning. Pretty much one of the easiest things to do is to pick a well-known, well-supported theme that has a number of options and integrates well with the various page builders, Gutenberg, Elementor, etc. So I have used for a number of sites, Ocean WP. It is, as you can see here, last updated in January. It's receiving regular updates. It has over 700,000 active installations. It has stellar ratings. It is from a large company. It is a multi-purpose theme, ready for Elementor, ready for e-commerce, integrates with a whole bunch of other things. It is basically what I say is my go-to in terms of a general purpose theme that will allow you to adapt for a number of different situations. If you want to be a little more geeky, There is also my theme that is basically designed for rapidly developing PSD to WordPress, and there's some documentation on my website. It is an active, this theme is actively being developed and is in active production. So you can grab either of those two. I can tell you I can remodel a site in probably about an hour on either of these to do just a basic facelift to a site. I'm going to put those two links in the chat. So that's kind of my, what do you need for a theme in terms of plugins? It really depends on what you're trying to do, what plugins you need. So if you're just doing a basic landing page, you may not really need much of anything in terms of plugins. You could just do it in Gutenberg with the Ocean WP or with Kaya. Either one, you could get a basic, well, I could get a basic landing page set up in 30 minutes. You could probably get it set up in a few hours. In terms of a basic startup site, my answer is pretty similar. You could use either of those themes. If you want to drop in a builder, you might want to go with something like Elementor. It's very popular. It's used on literally millions of websites. In terms of a replacement for a Shopify store, you are typically talking about WooCommerce in that situation. And I will grab a link. Give me just one moment. I have a rather extensive list of questions in a blog post that go through just, I mean, you can see the table of contents, store setup, selling setup, shipping setup, order management, payment processors, cart and checkout, products, sales tax, coupons, website, customizations, a whole lot of different things to think about and get going with on an e-commerce.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. That kind of helps you get started?
Yeah. Yep. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Our next person who said they were here is Gary Vaughn. Let me scroll to Gary's. So Gary asks, what tools or tips might you recommend for manipulating images in WordPress, be within the block editor or some external apps for resizing, formatting, adding visual effects? So the one that I personally use is called Affinity. I like Affinity because it's not a subscription, it's just a one-time purchase. I have put the link in the chat. Affinity Photo is going to give you a very, very similar set of tools to Photoshop. And it's also at a pretty reasonable price. I think it's one-time payment of $70. They no longer have their Black Friday sale on, which is when I got it, but it is still a very reasonable thing. I think Adobe wants to charge you like $20 a month for Photoshop. There is another one, which is called Photopea, and I will drop this in the chat. This is a free online tool. It can handle PSD, AI, XD, Sketch, PDF, all sorts of different things. It gives you a whole bunch of features from very similar to Photoshop, Illustrator, etc. It can open things from your Google Drive, your Dropbox, your OneDrive, and it gives you a lot of different manipulation options for images. I always recommend that you do your resizing and manipulation outside of WordPress and then upload an optimized version. Hopefully that helps, Gary. I am sorry, I keep getting the two of you mixed up. Next one is Gina. Gina's question is, Gina volunteers for a local bee club, assisting them with the web. Their previous webmaster chose a theme and it has gotten out of date. They stopped working on the site and they are now out of a whole bunch of things no longer exist. Okay, so basically what's going on, sure, Gina, we can unmute you.
So it's not that they don't exist anymore. The pages exist.
But
But
the theme and the builder are no longer being updated, is what it
yeah,
sounds like.
the theme, it's actually an add-on to the theme. It was I'm not quite sure, rock page builder. And so the previous webmaster did a lot of the content in this rock page builder, which controlled the layout and code, I guess. So
Mhm.
I finally bit the bullet because he never responded and up WordPress and the theme, because Quasar, the theme was way out of date, and so was WordPress and the sequel. The pages exist on the web, but I can't edit them because the code is gone. And today I was working with a page. I kept trying to update it, but it's still retaining the information from before the change. And every time I tried to, I did a duplicate page and tried to edit that, and it's retaining the old code, so I have to start from scratch. I don't know how to do this. I know that, and I've been working through themes trying to figure out how to migrate to something that might be more sustainable, looking at
So
themes that are
what,
updated.
so it sounds like you have two issues. You have a theme that's out of date and also a page builder that's out of date.
The theme is no longer out of date. But
Okay.
I'm not sure how to phrase rock page builder or whatever. It's a builder application on
Mhm.
top of the theme, but
Yep.
that no longer exists. It's gone. It's gone.
Okay. So what I would say is that you basically want to use something that is going to take over the editor. And I say this because when something takes over the editor, it basically kicks out any previous code. So a page builder like Elementor, it takes over the editor. So even it will usually correct whatever the heck was there before and get that washed out and just give you what is left with the new Elementor, but you will be basically rebuilding each page
Yeah, I accept I
completely.
have to do that. And I was looking at maybe migrating to a new theme, but I can't because of how it handles the home page. The board one,
So what you're going to want to do is you'll want to migrate each of the pages to a new builder, and a builder that
migrate
is
as in,
theme.
yeah, it's not
You
quite
basically have to
migrate.
convert. Yeah, you'll have to convert them all. So you'll need to, so again, I say use a theme agnostic builder. So
And
my
Elementor,
usual go-to is Elementor.
I'll take a look at that.
The basic version is free. There's also a number of free add-ons. There's a number of paid options, but what it does is it moves all of your pages into this theme agnostic builder.
Okay.
And then you would go to, then you could, once everything was moved to a new builder, you could go to a brand new theme, and it will probably be easier.
Okay.
The other option, and quite frankly, this might be cleaner because at this point, your database is probably a complete mess
Don't even want
from
to think about
a
that.
whole bunch of old stuff that's been hanging around for years,
Yeah.
would be to just completely start fresh on a new build.
Any comments about, and I guess my concern is because this builder is gone,
Yes.
but they also have a form builder.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which,
I'm,
what
it's
is the form builder?
It's rock form. Rock.
You want to use a dedicated form plugin. The one I use most often is Fluent.
Okay.
It has a free version and a paid version.
Okay. I mean, okay. All right. I'll look at those. So yeah, I'm concerned about I'd like to transition this site
Mm-hmm.
to the next webmaster in a year or two. And so it needs to be WYSIWYG because people really can't do code anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do code. I mean, I've been doing pages for 30 years. So, all right, I'll look at that. So that was Elementor, and the other one was,
I'll type it in the chat so that you have them to look for.
right. Other than that, it handles shopping cart fine, and I just don't want to construct pages with tables if I don't have to, because
Yeah, don't, please don't.
yeah, I know, I
Um,
know. This thing is so tedious right now.
Yes, as Peter mentions in the chat, sometimes honestly starting fresh can actually be less painful in the long run than trying to fight and move everything over and deal with a database that is probably all mucked up on the back end.
Okay, and that's probably what happened. I'm with my duplicate page trying to copy and paste a new thing,
Mhm.
and it's not taking. Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you very much.
All right, our next person up in the queue is, we just did Gina. And Greta is here, but having technical issues, so I will try to quickly address Greta's question. Is there a way to hide or comment out a section without actually deleting the entire section in case you want to reuse it later? And she is using Elementor. The answer is yes. In Elementor, what you can do is go to there are settings for responsive, and if you go to the settings for responsive, you can uncheck desktop, uncheck tablet, and uncheck mobile. And when you uncheck all of those, it does not display on the front end, but the module or section is still there on the back end in case you want to have access to it later. And as Cheryl mentioned, this is in the advanced tab in Elementor. That's where the responsive is listed. The next part of Greta's question, once you move your site from staging to live, will your staging site remain intact? It depends on how your staging site was created and how you do the move. So the answer is it depends. The next part of Greta's question, currently the URL for all of the pages show staging.domain name, page title. Will this automatically change once they move out of staging? The answer is it depends on your SEO settings and the SEO plugin you are using and whether you have set up any customizations. It also depends on the system you use to migrate from staging to live. There are very large number of variables here, so I can't really tell you what's going to happen for your specific setup. The next part of Greta's question, where do you put the meta name description for SEO optimization? Will search engines bother to read it? Read that search engines ignore the keyword meta tag. So basically for SEO, you'll want to set up an SEO plugin. Yoast is probably the most well-known. SEO Press is also very popular, and I would say probably better than Yoast. And there is also Rank Math SEO. There's a whole lot of other SEO plugins, but personally, I would probably go with SEO Press or Rank Math. And in any of the SEO plugins, really, when you go visit a page, you'll be able to enter the meta description. Most search engines do read your meta description. Whether they will display it in their results is a different question, but they do normally read it. Search engines do basically ignore the meta keyword at this point. And when do you change, when you're changing page titles, do you change the slugs as well? You should not change the slug in general. You should pick a slug and stick to it because the slug is the URL. It's the location of your page. So you should not be moving the location of your page without significant intention, especially once something is live. And the last part of Greta's question is, where does one find a 404 error page to customize it? And the answer is, that depends on your theme. You should contact your theme developer or check the theme documentation for how you can customize the 404 error page. If none of those are available, then you can start looking into plugins and or writing custom code to customize that page. All right, our next person up is going to be Cheryl. Cheryl's question is, what is the best way for a team to manage care plans? That is a very broad question. Cheryl, would you like to unmute? So Cheryl, if you can just click your unmute button. There we go. Hi, Cheryl.
Okay, I've clicked it. Hi.
So-
We manage a lot of care plan sites, and I'm trying to decide which service to use to move them to.
Yes, so there are a lot of options out there.
Mhm.
It really depends on ballpark. How many are you managing? 10,
Probably
100?
Probably about 50 at this point.
About 50. Okay, is there a specific price point that you are looking to stay within for a monthly fee?
Well, that's one of the things. I looked at a few of them and tried a few of them, and some of them can get kind of expensive, which I probably wouldn't really mind because, I make money on them, but it's just a matter of finding, like I tried WPMU Dev, and they have all these premium plugins in their premium plan that I don't want or need. And then I don't know. So, I'm just trying to figure out which one is going to work better. Their free plan, I thought about just using that, but then I don't get to get different logins for my team.
Yeah, I would not recommend just using WPMU's free plan. Honestly, I've not had great experience with them, so I don't recommend them.
Okay.
The three big ones, well, there's two big ones and more of upstart, but it seems to be pretty solid so far. The two big ones are Manage WP and WP Remote. Those are the two big ones. So Manage WP at 50 websites. It depends on exactly which options you would be using, but you'd probably be looking at their basically all-inclusive plan, which would be 150 flat rate for up to 100 sites. WP Remote, you would be looking at, honestly, I'm not even sure what their pricing is. All right, 50 sites. So for a certain set of features, you'd be at $79 a month. For a different set of features, you'd be at $150. They both have pros and cons. You're going to get some things with one that you're not going to get with the other. It's going to depend on what you want to offer.
Yeah, I've looked at all of them. I've pretty much looked at all of them. What was the startup one that you were mentioning that you thought might be something to consider too?
And it's got a number of different options available that it includes. So
do you think that the WP umbrella does it have reporting? Have you used it before?
I have not personally used it. Does it list reports? It does not list reports.
Yeah. I feel like I've tried all of them, like their free plans, just to see how they work. And I just don't know which one to do, and I can't really make a decision. I mean, Manage WP looks good, but it's just kind of expensive, so I don't know, but it's hard because you're making money on the account, so maybe you just increase your care plan
you'd
price.
basically be looking at the same price as WP Remote. The feature sets are going to be different.
Do you use one particular one for your care plans?
Personally, I use Manage WP.
Okay.
It has a feature set that works for me and for what I need.
Yeah, the WPMU dev had so many of the premium plugins that they include, but it's not any, I didn't really like any of them. So,
Mhm.
I have a stack that I already use and I don't necessarily need to switch that all around. And I also felt like adding all those plugins made the site slower than
It
faster.
generally does, yes.
Yeah. So, so I was trying to find something sort of with minimal, plugins, but I mean, I use Updraft for my backups and WP Optimize for that, you know what I mean? So I kind of don't want to change all that. And so I was trying to figure out which one would be best for me to try. And I just want to be able to have my team members be able to log into one place and manage the dashboards for the different sites.
Yes. I know it's very easy to do that with Managed WP.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure about how well the delegate access works on WP Remote.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if
Okay.
Umbrella even has any delegate access.
Okay, well, that helps a lot. So I think I'm going to try to go ahead with Managed WP. I hate to make that commitment to the price, but I got to do it to make it easier for my team.
Yeah,
So this is very
it's
helpful. I appreciate it.
not that much per website. I mean, you're looking at, $2 to $3 per website. It's not.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And I spend so much time trying to log into different things that sometimes it's just worth it to not have to log in. And, for the team too, to have it log in for each person for each website is just really stupid. And
Yep.
then when they leave, you have to go to each website and update it. So this does make a lot of sense in that regard as well.
Yep. Okay. Well, I need to
Okay.
get to the next person.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, you're welcome. All right. In the order of people, it looks like our next person up is Linda Michelle, who has a question regarding templates. Can she import and use Bootstrap templates in WordPress? It depends on what theme you have and whether it supports Bootstrap. Is there anyone else who has questions who wants to hop into the chat? All right. First up is Gyani. Not sure how to pronounce your name, but Gyani. Yes, you can go ahead and post your question now. If you'd like to unmute, just say so in the chat. All right, you have created a community back.net and purchased a plugin. The plugin only allows admins to create a frequently asked questions page while adding question answers, which are moderated by the admin. She's looking for a plugin to create a Wikipedia-like website where visitor can create pages. So basically you're looking for a WordPress plugin with wiki. You specifically want to use the word wiki in your search. So here are some various plugins. I honestly have not created a wiki with WordPress. So I would probably start looking. This Better Docs I have actually heard of before, and I've heard good things about it. It's at over 30,000 installations and 5 stars. So I'm just gonna do a search on this page for wiki. So it does say that they can create some wiki type elements. So I would probably look into this plugin and see if it can assist.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Thank you for taking my call. So the thing is, like, I have looked into all these Yara plugins, and everybody shows to create a FAQ for any website where they allow to create the FAQ page, and then you can add questions and answers. I'm looking for something, I'm not sure, like, where, like, you have to copy a page, right? So you already have an FAQ page which has some questions and answers, but I want that, like, whenever, like, suppose I'm creating a web, FAQ for, like, suppose a website, like, suppose manage WP is a website, right? And I want to create a FAQ page for that. And I want another user to again create a page for WP remote, right? I want something where I can copy the contents of a dummy FAQ page, and users can actually add new questions and answers. So whatever plugins I have seen, they are only for like create a FAQ page for one website, but I'm looking for something where the users, right? I know it's going to be difficult because users also can spam things and create something which is, but have you heard of like Medium or something, your website where you create a blog page for anything, right? You just create a page and then you write something. So I want to have something similar, but something for FAQ is what my question is.
So do you want the FAQs to all be on one page or to all be separate pages?
Separate pages. Like if you say community FAQ page / WP remote, or community FAQ.net / WP manage or something like that. So everybody will be having their own FAQ.
Okay,
page.
so what you want is, but then on the community FAQ / manage WP, you want basically people to create each of those pages if they want to.
Yes.
And you also want people to be able to add questions and answers to each of those pages.
Yes. Yeah. Just like any Wikipedia,
So
like Wikipedia, you can just create a page.
it sounds like you're really looking to just install a wiki. So wiki software is open source. You can literally basically make Wikipedia. It's open source. You would install it directly onto your server. It wouldn't be part of WordPress. It's actually its own entity.
Okay.
But it might be better for your use case.
So what is the plugin name here?
It's not a plugin. It's literally wiki software.
Okay, wiki software. Okay.
So there's if I go to Wikipedia, it has the answer. There's a ton of different, and these are basically standard wiki programs. So I would probably look in the PHP based list, just because WordPress runs on PHP. So that is a common entity. But there are a whole bunch of them. They're released under frequently GPL licenses, which allow you to use it pretty much wherever you want to.
Okay.
So I would probably
it will be like a Wikipedia page itself, like, but
exactly.
I have to do it on my own. Okay. And then adding FAQ, I can just use whatever plugins, and then once they create that, once people can create the page, then they can copy something which is already there and then just add their own questions and answers. Okay.
It's yeah, with wiki, people can both create pages and they can create content within pages.
How about spam and all that? It should be there, right? I mean, like,
yeah, it would be important to actually read the documentation and what is going on in terms of they mention some of these options as extends the original one in terms of quality management, support, administration, editing, security, etc.
Okay.
So
thank you so much.
And next up we have Albert. Albert is trying to set up a WAS, which is WordPress as a service, using Microsoft servers with Elementor, LearnDash, Membrium, WooCommerce, affiliates, and BuddyBoss. Oh, wow. I would not do that. For one thing, I have had nothing but trouble running WordPress on a Microsoft server. WordPress is designed to be run on a Linux server, not a Microsoft server, and I have had absolutely nothing but problems running it on Microsoft servers. I completely refuse to work with them anymore. And I know a number of other developers who feel the same way.
Okay. So is it, would you recommend then another server? Like, I know there's, you recommended some here like Umbrella, Remote.
So those are
Remote.
not servers. Those are management companies which allow you to log into multiple different WordPress websites. You're talking about hosting companies.
Yes.
And hosting companies, there's lots of hosting companies out there. You are basically asking for an extremely high demand server. You are going to try and do a WAS with all of that fun stuff. I would probably look into GridPane. Just picked up a connection with oh, I can't remember the name of it. Give me a sec to look in my email.
So it says here, Greg says Azure can handle Linux. There's Linux services on Azure.
Possibly. All I know is I avoid Microsoft like the plague.
Okay.
It can't be a Windows server. Do not use a Windows server.
Okay, got it.
WordPress hates Windows servers. Let me just, there was a recent email that I'd gotten regarding this, and it would probably be a good service for you because your server running all those different systems is going to be a very needy server.
Yeah, and I haven't set this up yet. So I'm trying to set this up for multiple nonprofits so they could, just create their own. So I'm a nonprofit and I'm really trying to set it up for other nonprofits so they can go in there. We give them templates, things of that nature, base template, and then they could create their own. And, we want those plugins. So it's all set up for them.
Yes, it's just each of those plugins is a high demand plugin. So you don't want to use any of them if you don't have to.
Okay, got it.
So every single one of those is a very needy plugin. Buddy Boss uses a ton of resources. Elementor is not too bad. LearnDash, very needy plugin. WooCommerce, very needy plugin. Affiliates, needy plugins. So I wouldn't load any of those kind of plugins unless I actually needed them.
Got it.
Because those are very needy plugins. So there is this service called WP Cloud. It is done through Automatic. And so only companies that are aligned with Automatic. Automatic is the parent company who basically owns WordPress. They run WordPress.com, which is the world's largest WAS, or WordPress as a service. So what they have is this thing called WP Cloud.
Okay.
And it is enterprise hosting. And normally you can't get anywhere near it for less than 4 figures. But GridPane is a hosting company who Automatic recently put a $42 million investment into because Automatic really believes in what they are doing. And so they have access to WP Cloud at actually affordable prices. So as you can see, it's $25 a month for their base plan, and they're giving you actually PHP workers and CPU cores, and they do have abilities to scale as well as to have failover, and a ton of stuff is included in this plan. And they have higher plans available as well for people who are looking for more resources. But they would probably be able to help you with upscaling, and I know they've definitely dealt with some WASs before.
So they could help me set it up, right?
Yes.
And make sure it's secure and stable. I just then need to develop, the developers to just bring the content, the structure, the basic setup. But
yes,
pretty much they can get everything up and running.
Yes, but I would be very hesitant to load all of those things into a WAS, as I'd only want to bring in, WooCommerce if the website really had a need for WooCommerce.
Got it. So it's better not to, than you're saying, to do a WAS model.
Generally, you only do a WAS if you really want clones of each other. You know, they're really going to basically be the same website, just with a different look to them. Otherwise, it can be very unruly.
Got it. Yeah. So if that's the case, right, is it still worth it to do the WAS if they're going to be kind of clone, you know, nonprofits in a sense, you know, same menus, but of course they're going to be linking to different things,
But they're going to have, basically, you typically want to look at, but are these websites the same on the back end? And if you're going to be using different high need plugins like BuddyBoss and WooCommerce and LearnDash, those are
Yeah.
all high need plugins. If you're going to be using different ones on different sites,
yeah.
that's not really the same site on the back end. That's really very different sites on the back end.
Got it. Okay. So pretty much what you would say is call WP Cloud, tell them whatever
Well,
my
WP Cloud won't talk to you because WP Cloud won't talk to you for less than 4 figures a month.
Oh, wow.
You can contact GridPane, who has the relationship to get you access to WP Cloud at
Okay.
reasonable price points.
Got it. Got it. Sorry. Got it. So WP Engine is not as good because they're kind of expensive. So you're
WP
saying-
Engine is, you will get very expensive very fast with the kind of neediness on the servers. I had a e-commerce client who was crashing the WP Engine server, just crashing it. And that was at like $300 a month. And they were just crashing the server out. WP Engine wouldn't even tell me what resources the website had. All they said is I needed to upgrade to $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And I would get more resources, but they still wouldn't tell me what those resources would be. So I took it off of WP Engine, brought it over to GridPane,
Yeah.
and for that same $300 a month, I no longer have crashing.
Got it. So they're kind of
And I know exactly what resources my websites have.
got it. So they're just a better vendor to work with to help set me
Yes.
this whole thing up.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. And I can tell them what I'm trying to do, and then they'll kind of spec it out and design it, correct? And plug it all
No.
in. Sure. No. No.
They are not your developer. Unless you want to talk about their agency plans, which start at 4 figures a month.
No.
They do have agency plans where they will do a heck of a lot for you, but no one is going to spec that out except a developer that you pay.
Got it. Okay.
Only a developer that you pay is going to spec all this out for you.
Got it.
So you'd be paying someone like me, who's a WordPress developer who works with a lot of these hosting companies like GridPane. I have several clients there. You'd need to pay an actual developer to spec out, set up all your sites, maintain them, all of that.
Got it. Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay, so GridPane would be the hosting solution, and then got it. And then I would use all these, you know, WP Remote would, you know, to manage all these sites, correct?
WP Remote, Manage WP, all of those, they're designed for developers.
Okay.
So they won't manage your website. They are merely a tool that does automates things like backups and snapshots and stuff like that. It automates some stuff, but they are not developers. If you want problems solved, you need a developer.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. All right. That takes us to 8 p.m., which is the normal end time. If anyone has a very quick question, then you can drop it into the chat quickly. Otherwise, I am going to wrap the meeting up. if you are interested in WordPress help outside of our normal meetup times, then we have a meetup information page and you can go visit it and get some assistance. And of course, I disabled my screenshot tool because I rebooted my computer. Here we go. My screenshot tool is back. There we go. By the way, if you are using a Mac, there's a fantastic tool called Text Sniper that allows you to literally grab any text you can see on your screen. It'll copy it. That's what I just used. And then our next meetup will be on February 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern. Greg, who has been helping out today in the Zoom and helping with everything, will be presenting on WordPress security. We're all very excited to have that. Please RSVP at the meetup group, which is on meetup.com, the Baltimore WordPress group. And I hope everyone has a good evening and a good rest of the week.